Hey guys, it's Allyssa LaScala here from Fit with Liz, and tonight we're going to talk all about meal prep hacks. So if you're one of those people that is, afraid to start meal prepping for yourself, you feel like it's just such an overwhelming task that you haven't ever tried to go through the process of prepping the next 3 or 4 days meals to help in reaching your health or fitness goal, that is what I'm here for. I know that one of the biggest stresses of my clients when we get started is, this is all great and I feel like I have a plan, but I've never done this meal prep thing. I have no idea what I'm doing. And I don't even know where to start. And so what I wanted to do was give you guys my top tips tonight about how to make this as quick, easy, and painless as possible, the do's and don'ts, the things you really want to think about, the things that can make this go as smoothly as possible, the things that could really make or break whether this is, a stressful or more of a relaxing process for you. So I welcome all questions. You guys can ask whatever you want. I'll probably cover most of the things that you guys are thinking about in here, but feel free to post questions as you go and I will be sure to answer them. All right. So the first thing I want to bring to your attention, and then I'm going to go into my top tips, is that meal prepping really helps to keep you on budget and helps to keep you on track more. Now, of course, it's going to help keep you on track when you have the foods with you that you're supposed to be eating. But when you have your meals prepped, you're a lot more likely to stick to that food versus to go out to eat or to order in. Like, I know that there have been times where I know that there's food that I prep that's sitting in my fridge, and maybe my husband asked me, do you want to order pizza? Do you want to go out to eat? Do you want to do this? And I don't want that food to go bad because I already cooked it and I already spent money on it. And so this is a great way not only for you to stay on track with your goals, but to stay on track with your budget, because you know what you already spent on food and you're a lot less likely to go out and spend it at Wawa or Chipotle or wherever else. All right. So my first biggest tip for you guys is to choose foods that you can easily change up the flavor. So some people like flavoring their foods when they first start, like as they're cooking, they want to add the different seasonings or the different sauces. And if that's you, that's fine. It really is about personal preference. But I'll tell you what I realized is that there are some times where I'm in the mood for something completely different, or I really want a specific seasoning or a certain spice. And if you already flavored all of your food, sometimes you can't add something else without it tasting like total crap. So sometimes it's nice to be able to have it totally plain and then be able to choose as you go per meal or by day what you want it to taste like, especially if you're adding, hey Patty, thanks for joining, especially if you're adding specific sauces. Like, things can taste very contrasting. So you may just want to have it totally plain. And if you're someone that's a mom that's cooking for, a bunch of people, or maybe you're just, a wife or a husband that's cooking for your other spouse or your kids, and you want to cook a lot of your food in bulk because you don't want to just cook for yourself separately, it would be nice if you could have all these foods cooked and have your family enjoy them as you go. Then having something plain makes it easy for you to appeal to each person's taste buds. So especially if you have really picky kids, you want to make sure that you cook your poultry or your fish or whatnot completely plain. Cook the potatoes, cook the rice, cook your vegetables totally plain, so that if you need to add oil or butter or salt or whatever it may be for someone, then that's fine. That's okay. Hey Rory, thanks for joining. So it makes it so much simpler to be able to appeal to as many people as possible and to your varying taste buds if you just make it plain. So that's my first tip, and that's always worked really well for me. Choosing foods that you can tolerate eating cold. That would be my next biggest one. Now, it doesn't mean that you have to eat your foods cold. There's nothing wrong with heating up your food or, putting it in the microwave. It's whatever you feel most comfortable with and whatever you enjoy. But I know that it's helpful to be able to find foods that you are okay with having cold. So say, you are running a bunch of errands, or you have a job that makes you run from one place to another, or you're, running from, your job to the gym, to dropping the kids off at gymnastics or whatever it may be, and you don't have a microwave or some way to heat up your food. What if you feel like those foods if you don't have them warm, like you just cannot tolerate them? And then you either stop at a fast food restaurant and get something that's more appealing to you, or you just totally skip your meal. And so if you can find foods that are a little bit more appealing to you, that if you need to tolerate them cold, you can, it's extremely helpful. So for example, like I love ground turkey, ground chicken. That's really easy for me to have cold and mix it up with some rice and some vegetables in there. Like, I could eat that all the time, cold or warm. But if you have tilapia or some type of fish, I cannot do that cold. I forced myself to do it a couple times and I literally feel nauseous just thinking about it. but that's something that I know that I wouldn't be able to do. Honestly, I don't like fish unless I have it freshly cooked there. I don't like cooking my fish in bulk. So think about the things that you'll be able to tolerate. Certain vegetables, some people will be able to have cold. I can eat asparagus cold or hot, things like that. So find foods that you don't care whether it's heated up or not, just in case, especially if you're, doing like a really busy day, you have a busy schedule where you may not be around some type of microwave, okay? Choosing foods that, we'll go to this one. Being conscious of the fats and the condiments and the flavorings that you add to your foods while you're cooking. So if you guys haven't heard that, coconut oil solves like 99 out of 100 problems, it's just become such a huge, fad or accessory anymore for people to be able to incorporate coconut oil. But just because you add something that's good for you to something else doesn't mean that you're not getting that fat content in there. So, say you're cooking your vegetables and your potatoes and your rice and everything all with coconut oil, guys, that oil still counts. Like that fat still counts. So you do have to incorporate that. If you're someone that tracks your macronutrients or you track your calories, try and think, instead of just like scooping out, some coconut oil or like pouring in the olive oil to whatever you're cooking, try and measure it out and then dump it in. I know sometimes we just like to be like, Iron Chef and bam, 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 and just do it, just by the seat of our pants. But if you can measure it out and have a little bit of a better idea about how much fat you're adding, that's really helpful. And then things that, not even just fats, guys, but think about how easy, I know that I can go through ketchup like crazy. So like if I just keep squirting ketchup on a plate, or if you have soy sauce, mustard isn't as high in sodium, but hot sauce, things like that they have like very low calories, but you have to think there's a lot of sodium in that. So not only is it going to be something that is going to, clearly like affect your blood pressure, but you're going to start holding a lot more water if you're adding different condiments and different seasonings that have salt in them. So it's not that salt's a bad thing. I put pink Himalayan sea salt on almost all of my food, but it's figuring out exactly how much you put on there and then making sure that you're conscious about how many meals you put on there, because that sodium racks up a lot. What Jen, you said, I started to pre-measure your approved fats and carbs. Yeah, exactly. Pre-measuring, sometimes you don't realize, it's kind of like when you eat peanut butter out of a jar, you really don't realize how much you had unless you would have measured out each tablespoon and been like, oh my God, I can't believe that that's what I just consumed. So just be more knowledgeable about that, guys. Before you start cooking, before you start going through the meal prep process, think about what you can cook on the stovetop, what you can cook or bake in the oven, what you can throw on the grill, so that you're able to get multiple things done at once. And if you're thinking about multiple things that have to be baked in the oven, having an idea of, okay, well, if this has to be at this temperature, or this has to be at that one, just finding a happy medium and watching them as you go. Guys, this is a process. Hey, Tata, thanks for joining. This is a process that isn't necessarily going to be, perfect the first time that you go for you. Tommy, I'll answer that question about pink Himalayan salt in a second. But it's not going to go perfectly for you for the first time. And I know a lot of times, like when I first went to do my meal prep several years back when I started doing this, I went into the store and I'm like, oh my God, how much chicken do I need? Like I was trying to calculate by ounce exactly what I needed. Oh my God, am I going to run out of chicken first? Am I going to run out of potatoes first? Like, what if somebody eats some of my rice? Like, I was freaking out. And guys, it's okay. If you run out of something, it's all right. It's not the end of the world. If you cooked a little too much, you know that you can, just freeze some of it and thaw it out later. So just start with doing, 3-4 days at a time. I always tell people you can cook once per week for meal prep and try and cook for that 7-day period. But I'll tell you, foods usually taste a lot better if you try and do this twice a week. I like doing a Sunday and like a Wednesday or a Thursday. And I'll tell you, like, meats taste a lot different on, day 1 or day 4 versus day 7. So I like my food to taste very fresh. Some people can go the whole 7-day span and eat the food like that, and I can't, because I can really tell that the quality starts to deteriorate there. But if you are someone that is feeling overwhelmed with this whole process, just start with 3 days, go for it, and it's a learning process. After 2 or 3 times, you'll get there, I promise. So don't freak out, just give it a try. To go on to Tommy's question about pink Himalayan salt, it's very different for you to have, sea salt or pink Himalayan salt. Just some of the properties are different. It is a different type of salt. It's very good for the adrenals. You don't need as much as if you were doing table salt. I mean, by all means, don't use table salt at all. So Tommy, that's really the difference. It's a different type of salt and it has different properties to it, and you don't need as much. So it's a lot healthier for you than the regular table salt. Jenny, you said that you need to, let me see, you need to a measuring tool. You're a crazy woman when it comes to olive oil and soy sauce. Yeah, absolutely. Like, get your tablespoon. Even if you take the bottle of soy sauce or whatever you're using and you like are pouring into the spoon and just kind of dumping as you go, it gives you somewhat of an idea. And maybe you don't need to do this every time, but just do it a couple of times to figure out where you're at. It's the same as if, you don't want to measure out your foods every single day. I used to weigh my foods every single day, every single meal. I don't need to do that anymore because I've gotten to the point where I know what that measurement looks like. So I know, in my container, this is about how much rice or how much, meat or whatever I need that's going to equal the amount of ounces that I need. So, don't make yourself a crazy person, but just do it a couple of times so you can really grasp what it looks like for that amount, that serving, okay? Always portioning out your foods the night before. Do not wait until the morning. I'm telling you, too many things happen in the morning. Too many times, your alarm doesn't go off, or I know like my dog will pee on the floor 3 times before I need to leave, and I'm just like, I have no choice, like I'm going to be late for work. Well, when I was working for somebody else, you get to the point where there are so many things that can go wrong in the morning. Just eliminate all the excuses, get it ready the night before, just stack it up on the top shelf in the refrigerator, and so that the only thing that you have to do in the morning is throw it in your lunchbox with an ice pack, okay? If you're someone that tracks your food with measurements, if you're someone that weighs your food, or you measure out your rice or whatever it may be, like a 1/3 cup of rice or whatever you're measuring out, you got to realize that when you're tracking this, guys, especially if you're using something like MyFitnessPal or Spark People or any of the apps out there that tell you, what your calories are, what your macronutrients are, make sure you realize that there is a difference between the cooked and the uncooked measurements. And I'll tell you that you just stick to one. Figure out now whether you want to weigh your food cooked and then, or weigh your food uncooked and measure it out and portion it, which I don't suggest, or measure it cooked, like after everything's done being cooked, then measure it and then separate it. That is exactly what I would do. And so if you're someone that uses MyFitnessPal, which is, my app of choice if I'm going to track something, make sure that the foods that you're entering in there, it may already be in there. There's already like how many different entries for different chicken and different rice and things like that. Make sure that it's accurate. You would be surprised how many people, because anyone can enter the foods in there. Anyone can. You can. But if you go and you look at the carbs and the fats and the proteins and the calories, guys, sometimes it's not right. Sometimes it doesn't match up. Or maybe they have it listed in there as like 1 cup and you're trying to put 1/2 cup, so you think it divided it in half when you go and enter it in there and it didn't. So my biggest suggestion to you, if you're using those type of apps, is just enter the foods on your own. Like, I know it can kind of seem like a pain in the butt to do, but the foods that you commonly use, especially if you're having the same ones, every single week, go and enter them in yourself. You can make your own recipe or make your own foods within these apps. And I suggest you do it because then it's accurate. Then and it's stored for you, so you don't have to do it every time. Just do it once and it's done. But there are so many times where I've had clients say, I don't know why, I'm not losing weight on this or that, and it was the plan they were doing before, and they'll send me screenshots of their MyFitnessPal. And I'll say, like, there's no way that, your macronutrients are only at this much with the foods that you were having. And it's because they were selecting, entries in there that were totally wrong. That someone I don't even know what they were thinking. Maybe they just didn't care. But they can be very, very invalid. So just enter your own. All right, second to last one. So always bring your meals with you, even if you think that you're not going to need them. And guys, I still do it sometimes. I still sometimes leave my food at home, or I think I'm just going to be gone for an hour. I go to Target and then I end up realizing like I'm going to Target and then Giant and then Staples and I have to run to Petco. And so then I'm like, okay, I didn't think I was going to be gone for 3 hours. I wish I had my meal with me. And then you want to stop and get something else. So the worst thing that you can do is just like, work so hard to have all these meals prepped and portion them out and then leave them at home. So make sure that no matter what, you bring them with you. If it sits on the passenger seat in your car, no big deal. At least it's there. But I'm telling you, there are more times than not that I brought it with, and I was so glad that I did, because I didn't think I was going to be gone from the house that long. So no matter what you're doing, if you're bouncing from job to job, whatever, always bring it with you, always. And last but not least, if you forget a meal at home, this is exactly why I created my Smartest Choices Fast Food and Alcohol ebook. So for people that, are meal prepping, or they want to go out and enjoy, a dinner with family or a drink with family, but mostly for if you leave your food at home or you don't have a meal with you for some reason, that the smartest choices to make at the top 13, fast food chains that are around here. I can't talk today. Fast food chains that are around here. So if you guys have any questions, you can continue to post them. If I didn't answer, if I missed some of them, I promise I'll get back to you on that. But if you think of anything else, guys, please just post them in the comments. I'd be happy to answer. Make sure you check out the Smartest Choices ebook at fitwithliss.com under products. And hope you guys get started on your meal prep tonight or tomorrow and get yourself set for the week. So have a good one, guys. Let's get it.